Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And welcome to a very special podcast with the Honorable Judge Joe Brown on President Trump, the First Amendment, and whatever else he will like to drop as he drops many gems. Everyone, welcome the Honorable Judge Joe Brown, who is running for the Memphis, Tennessee Mayor 2023. All of those can be found on my links. Judge Joe Brown, welcome.
It's behind time.
All right. Are you able to hear me well?
I hear you loudly and clearly.
Thank you, sir. And thank you so much for this prime time or early prime time broadcast. We are on the heels of what may be, according to mainstream media, an arrest, and also out of the mouth of President Trump, number 45, who says he expects to be arrested on Tuesday. But as of yet, there has been nothing solidified that this may occur. Your thoughts on this, Honorable Judge Joe Brown?
Well, let's put it this way.
Yes, sir.
There are all sorts of problems like statutes of limitations, which means it's too late to do anything about it under the extant law. This is likely to be state law. And what is going to happen is a reflection of this old proverb. Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. And if the people who are trying to get these arrests to come about get what they are asking for, there's a great possibility that there is going to be a very bad backlash. The American people don't like somebody trying to play the game and then when they're losing, try to take the ball and run home or change the rules. About free speech is caught up with the fact that it is the very first amendment to the Constitution. It was adopted in 1791, ratified the Constitution's Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. The Constitution itself was adopted, that is, ratified in 1789. So these things have been with us 132 years. They're 232 years. They're nothing new. And freedom of speech is what it says. This system depends upon free speech, the opposition of ideas. That opposition works best when ideas are freely stated, not when they are restricted. And any effort to restrict free speech is far more dangerous than anything that might be said.
Now, as it relates to the large cities preparing for possible protests, how does that correlate with what you spoke on as far as free speech and what is known or should be known and what needs to be said or not to be said?
There we go. See, the First Amendment is not just about free speech. The right to assemble and petition for redress of grievance, etc., shall not be abridged. In other words, you can assemble and demonstrate. The Constitution's amendment, number 1, says what needs to be said about regulating it. There is a presumption in the law that people will obey the law. And it doesn't say anything about someone having to say, we need to come together and peacefully demonstrate. You don't have to articulate, we will peacefully come together. It may be an ordinance or regulation that you can peacefully assemble, but the Constitution preempts that. The Constitution has to be read in terms of its amendments, because the amendment becomes part of the Constitution. And the very first one says the right to assemble and petition for the redress of grievance shall not be abridged. And for 232 years, that has been interpreted as not necessarily submitting a petition in writing, but standing up and making speeches about it, having rallies about it, having demonstrations and assemblies about it. Now, when you start trying to suppress that, you get out of line. Now, they have had restrictions on speech, but it's not on content, it's on form. There is this thing called obscenity. In other words, it's just offensive and distasteful the way it's said and appealing to prurient interest. Now, prurient is something you can put in your phone, highlight it, and hit look up. And I suggest you go do that, because you need to learn how to work a dictionary if you're going to be in this society and speak this language. Okay. So that's a homework assignment.
Okay.
You also can't use speech to say falsely, yell out in the crowded theater that there is a fire, because that's likely to induce a deliberate public or a public panic, which is going to cause immediate injury. However, America is predicated on there being a concept of collateral damage that is accepted, because the alternative is so dangerous. In other words, petitioning for redress of grievance, assembling for that purpose, and speechifying to get that might induce somebody in a crowd to act violently. But the U.S. Supreme Court over this 230-some year period has long yelled that you are not liable because somebody in an audience or in a group does something violent, unless you specifically try to solicit the violence or you try to incite the violence. In other words, you can listen to a Maxine Waters speech that she made leading up to the 2020 election, when she advocated often, if you see a Trump-Pence bumper sticker, key the car or break the windows out, or we need to take to the streets and burn things down if we see Trump and this kind of thing. See, that's advocacy. That's of reach of the public order or peace. That's advocating criminal behavior.
Absolutely. And quick question. Say someone did that. Could that go back to her where she could be held liable?
Yes. See, that riot or a public disorder is different from saying we need to get angry about this, we need to do something about this, we need to take to the streets. Okay, take to the streets. You got a right to assemble and petition for redress of grievance. The Constitution guarantees that through the First Amendment. We need to go burn this town downtown. We need to go burn this town down. We need to, see, that's advocacy of civil disorder and violence.
And is that predicated on the verse 2 words you just said? Or the 3 words, we need to?
In other words, you're trying to solicit somebody to commit a crime.
Absolutely. Understood.
Now, that one of the things that you can't do. But anything else, speech needs to be free, because trying to suppress free speech is more dangerous than anything anybody can say. And if somebody is even advocating what some think to be violence, that gets a little bit weird because of the way people in this society have assigned different meanings to the same word. Like, dude, man, in other words, it's a compliment.
Yes.
Rather than something is wrong or reprehensible with it. Oh, man, we need to take this down. Are they talking about going out and blowing it up? Or are they talking about going to the polls and taking somebody out? Or are they talking about filing a lawsuit? Or are they talking about peaceful protest? Or are they talking about loud protest that embarrasses somebody badly? See, we can't have a bunch of censors running around trying to restrict what we can hear if it's not said in an obscene fashion. In other words, using all the MFs and all of this bad language.
Right, and all types of racial epithets, yes.
Yeah. Well, even the racial epithets, that per se is not illegal. But some people trying to make it illegal. Like if you call somebody the F word in California, you can get prosecuted and get jail time for a hate crime. If you say the N word, you won't.
Now, is there ever going to be something done on that disparity?
Well, you don't need to. We do not need hate crimes. In other words, let's say you murder somebody.
Yes.
You plan it out, do it intentionally. In most states, that's either life with a possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Correct.
So if you plan it out and do it because of race, what are you going to do? Dig the corpse up and execute it again?
I don't think that's possible. A lot of things are possible. I don't think that is.
And then the other thing is, some people today, we need a hate crime for black folk. No, you don't, because every time they come up with a hate crime, it has a disastrous habit of backfiring on the people it's supposed to benefit, because under our system, you can't do anything for somebody or against somebody because of race, color, creed, nationality,
sexual orientation,
sex, or medical condition.
Correct.
So if you can do it to protect somebody who is of this particular persuasion, then you have to apply it to somebody over here because of that persuasion. So what winds up happening is it backfires. You can see this with the concept of reverse discrimination.
So the George Floyd crime bill, is that out of the window?
George Floyd crime bill, let me put it this way.
Yes, sir.
What if they name in America after black folk, except Booker T. Washington schools and Martin Luther King Boulevard? Name me something.
Well, in D.C.
George Floyd crime bill?
No.
Okay. Emmett Till anti-lynch bill?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, well, they named the crime bill, they named Emmett Till anti-lynch bill. Guess what? If you had a chance to talk to Emmett Till's late mother, like I did 30 years ago for several hours, if you talk to the family biographer, like I have on a frequent basis, the family didn't even consider Emmett Till to be lynched. He was murdered. Now, the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill that was named after Emmett Till doesn't do anything about the problem. All it does is it's a sham that interjects sexual orientation into American law, federal law, for the first time. It doesn't even require that someone be killed now. In other words, you think of a lynching as a mob goes after somebody and hangs them, burns them, shoots them.
Dismembers?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't require that now. For lynching, under federal law now, all it takes is one man. He doesn't have to kill anybody. He can kidnap them, or he can beat them. And if he does so because of somebody's sexual orientation, it becomes a lynching. I'll give you an example of how this can play out. Homeboy is broken up with his woman, right?
Yes.
Feeling bad.
Yes.
He goes out to a club, he's drinking, and there's what he thinks is Miss Fine thing over in the corner, who's in this high heels, big boobs, that implants, but he doesn't know it at the time. She's got all the makeup on, hair done, big hoop earrings, and they get to slow dancing on the floor, and all his friends are looking, and they're drinking, and they get to exchanging spit over in the dark shadows. And he's out there, and he's getting a hard on. And he goes, "What the hell?" And busted in the mouth. That now is a federal lynching.
Wow.
See where that goes?
Yes.
Make the switch. And if we do need a change in law or a constitutional amendment, I can think of just one, and that would be to make it a requirement, like most states have, that the caption on a bill reflect what's in it. And on the federal level, they have hundreds of pages of laws that may resolve itself into a tax thing, a regulatory thing over pharmaceuticals, a provision or some anti-tank missiles, all under one bill. And the caption to the bill has nothing to do with the law in question or the laws in question. That's wrong. For example, after the Bush administration got $700 billion earmarked for Goldman Sachs, Smith Barney, and the large financial institutions because they did not have to have their accounts backed up with a percentage of cash, and they got way off into the deep end. And then the same thing under the Obama administration when it became a $781 billion bailout less than 2 years later. What wound up happening is that 42 senators and Congress, representatives, sent a letter to the Attorney General demanding that the executives for these failed banking institutions be prosecuted for using the federal money that had been sent over for their bailout to pay bonuses. Well, they all meekly withdrew their letters when they discovered that the bill that they had signed off on, that had been crafted by Geithner, former chief consultant for Goldman Sachs and friend to Obama, in his appointment for Treasury Secretary, he drafted it so that the bonuses could be paid from federal money, and it passed it into law, and they had to read it.
Wow.
See, complex, and I need to break that down. So be careful what you think you're getting the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill does not protect black folk because it doesn't add anything to the volumes of law that already do protect black folk. It's against the law to murder someone, whether by individual action or mob action. As a matter of fact, Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, one of the historical HBCUs, historical black colleges and universities.
Yes, sir.
A century-long study on the phenomenon of lynching. The last lynching, according to them, was in 1964, and it involved these two white civil rights protesters and one black one that got lynched down here in Mississippi.
Absolutely. I remember that.
Yeah. Now, so what exactly are we talking about when we're saying lynching? We don't have mobs going out and lynching black folk. Now, we do have people hung from trees, but they're on the southern border, and it looks like Mexican drug cartels doing mob punishment. Not mob, but gang-related punishments or sending a message to somebody. That's not lynching. Now, when we also think of lynching, you think of black folk getting hung by a mob, right?
Yes.
Watch any of that stuff on the Turner Channel, those black and white cowboy movies from the 30s and 40s and early 50s?
Very barbaric, in my opinion.
No, but you watch them, don't you?
I have, absolutely.
How many times do you say, all right, boys, ain't nobody gonna get took out of my jail and lynched. We gonna give him a fair trial before we hang him. Now, I can hurt one of you. You see, a whole bunch came out of the West with there was mob justice on the frontier. They were hanging white cowboys for getting too unruly after they got a little bit too much liquor in them, and they killed somebody.
That is interesting. Actually, when we complete this, I'm going to go back and pull up one of those shows.
Yep. And you see, that's one of the problems we have is a matter of perception because the news is slanted these days. See, we want to look at, oh, woe is us, how badly did we get treated? Yeah, we got treated badly. But what's that do with the solutions? I mean, I am at an age where, I come to tail end of the real segregation. Where, boy, you better not look like you're going to take a drink out of that white water fountain. Boy, get your nigger behind over there with that colored fountain. You better go. That's different, you see, than I don't want to go to that fountain. See, we get talk nowadays about the evils of desegregation. Nothing good about segregation. If you chose to separate yourself, that's one thing. Being told you can't go there, that's another. Been to these parks, the big ones where they say dogs must be on leash?
Yes.
That's what they were doing with you. You were being treated as a dog. No dogs allowed. You've seen that except service dogs. You see those signs all the time, don't you?
You most certainly do.
That's what they were doing to us. We were the dogs. By the way, part of the parallel on that is, poor Tom has not known love, and he's been confined to the kennel in the cold, freezing weather. His dog deserves love and freedom from pain. Send $19 a month to ASPCA. The tiger, he once ruled the jungle. Now no more, and we are threatening his existence. Send $19 a month to World Wildlife Fund.
And don't forget the elephants.
Well, yeah, the elephants, but now poor Charles, he has not known sent $19 a month to save the Negro Fund. You know, if you don't get insulted, something wrong with you. And it's like James Brown 55 years ago had a record that reflected attitude like me. I don't need you to do nothing. Just get out my way and I'll do it myself.
Yes.
Everybody wants white supremacy to make them okay. And the same white supremacy has been jacking you up for hundreds of years, and all of a sudden you expect it to turn around, feel guilty, and do something for you. Ain't gonna happen.
I don't believe so in my lifetime, and no. I'm well over 50 now, so.
Yeah. What you get is people actually using the rhetoric of white supremacy to express ideas that offend them. And then the other thing about white supremacy, and let me say it this way. I defy somebody to claim with legitimacy that there's a white person sitting on the other side of their kitchen table keeping their kids from learning something when they ought to be doing their homework. Is there a white man or white woman sitting at your kitchen table after you get through eating on it that is blocking your child from doing homework? And if you do your homework, that is like learning how to read sign and what you can pick and eat and not eat when you live in a forest or a jungle or a savanna or plains or the mountains or wherever you as a human have to live. Now, learn how to read that jungle. Learn how to read that forest. Learn how to read those plains, those savannas, and those mountains so you can make it where you live. And for the urban jungle, you need to learn what's in those books because that is reading sign in the 21st century. And the other thing about segregation, I'd point this out. Since the middle of the last ice age, more than 50,000 years ago, humans all over this planet, Africa, Asia, Europe, they have been engaging in ever more intense trade and interaction with each other for economic purposes and cultural purposes. And all of a sudden, in the 21st century, we want to turn things back and start acting like we want to be dirt scratch farmers in old Stone Age society or new Stone Age society, Neolithic. What's wrong with us? Yes, we need to learn vocational skills, certainly, but we also need to encourage our youth to get into science, technology, engineering, and math. So,
also known as STEM. For those who may not know that acronym, yes, sir.
STEM, STEM.
Yes.
We get into conditioning our children to become the scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians in the 21st century so they can invent something new where there will be an economic niche available that we can get into on the ground floor.
Absolutely.
I'm so tired of hearing people say, we need to learn how to grow fruits and vegetables so we can feed ourselves. That isn't going to get it. Because first place, you're competing with some very deep-pocketed farming industries. And we can't make power to outspend. You can feed yourself, but you still need electricity still need gas, you still need water, you still need transportation, you still need communications, you still need medicine, you still need medical treatment, you still need, which means you're going to have some police around. Police mistreat you, but guess what? The police in America are a one-one reflection of the political realities in the areas they serve. So if you ain't getting treated like crap, that means politically you're not. Three things. One, there aren't enough of us that live there. Two, if there are enough of us living there, we either are not effectively using our votes, or three, we are voting, but we are voting for some fakes who may look like us, but realize skin don't make you kin. And a lot of those people are conning you into voting for them so they can get paid off by representing somebody else's interest and not yours or else. They've been a little too curious, unbelted, drop breeches, drop boxes, bent over, spread butt cheeks, got boy bang, and they won't come out of the closet.
And we're seeing that now. We're seeing a lot of people feeling duped, or, as Denzel said in the movie Malcolm X, bamboozled after this last administration.
I got a chance to hear Malcolm in person talk one time years ago. I was still in high school. Yes, bamboozled. He used that word a lot. It's a good word. We didn't use it on the streets much, but it's a good word. Malcolm, by the way, was an artful user of the language, and one of the things he did when he had the time was memorize Webster's Unabridged Dictionary.
Yes. Yes.
See, but you're always using big words. I'm not using big words, and since I wrote them, and you're reading them on your cell phone, just touch the word, and you can hit look up, find out what it means. Or are you too lazy? See, if you're too lazy to do the homework you need to do, and you're depending on somebody to do it for you, you're just like a child. And when a child is depending upon a parent or parents to do everything, they have no incentive to learn what they need to be a fully functional adult.
Absolutely.
Not being a fully functional adult, you are dependent upon somebody, so anybody that doesn't like you can manipulate you.
And,
grow up,
and it can,
up,
yes, and
up.
it could lead to also more of the dysfunction that some of us see now.
Yes. I mean, you know, I employ people. And one of the problems that I have is that people I want to, like, do you have a work ethic, or where the hell have you been? I'm not your goddamn mama or your dad, you don't know.
And the lunches.
There's a job to take care of you. Plus, you got gray coming in your head. What's the matter with you?
Okay, sir.
I'm not saying there aren't black folk who are hard working. There are.
Absolutely.
But there are too many that aren't. And we need to change that. And we get the idea that somebody's supposed to do something for us. Well, guess what? You live on the planet Earth. You could get hit by a meteorite, a bolt of lightning, and 4 people got done in out in front of the White House by a bolt of lightning last year during a storm. They were sheltering under some trees.
Yes.
You get done in by an earthquake in California, volcanic activity
falling
in parts of the United States.
Yes, falling debris with all of these heavy wind gusts as of late.
Yes, you could get done in by typhoon, hurricane, tornado. You could get drowned by a tsunami or a tidal wave. You could fall off a boat, get eaten up by a great white shark or a tiger shark. You could get chewed up in California by a cougar or other places in the world by tigers. They kill off a lot of people. Lions, they kill off a lot of people.
Black bear out near West Virginia and in some parts of Upper Maryland.
Yes, it's a dangerous place to live. And there's a big supergiant red star called Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse that's about 500 light years away, and it's about to go supernova. And if it did, we wouldn't know it until we got hit by the radiation wave and get fried.
Oh my gosh.
It ain't safe being on this planet. And we've had two very large asteroids pass within the orbits of the GPS satellites that tell us where to go on our phones and the surface in the last couple of years, and they're due back, and there are a few more that we haven't even picked up on.
Yes, they just spoke of one, I think, a week ago.
That's why we're spending on NASA, and some experiments are being done to see if they can pick up on how to move these things so they don't hit us and wipe us out like the dinosaurs 66 million years ago.
You are so right, sir, because Goddard, they launched the rocket over the weekend. If anyone paid attention.
Yeah, and that's, by the way, what Elon Musk is up to. He is trying to get the most powerful booster rocket in history working and into a low orbit. Why are they interested? Because they want to get us a chance to get off this planet so if we get hit, we aren't all wiped out. Now, that's important because it's not a question of if we'll get hit. It's a question of when.
When we'll get hit. Lord, have mercy.
Guess what? It's absolutely ridiculous to get to talking about, I have a right to be safe. No, you don't. You live on the planet Earth, fool. If some fool doesn't take you out, the planet will take you out. If the planet doesn't take you out, your solar system will take you out. And if the solar system doesn't take you out, the galaxy might.
Well said. So my last closing question for you to bring it home in the Honorable Judge Joe fashion is your thoughts on this possible arrest of the Donald. Will it happen? And if so, how soon will we see him out again on the campaign trail? Because 2024 is right around the corner.
Well, guess what? If they do that,
yes, sir,
they're probably going to start a trend of witch hunting where the script gets flipped. And it would be the absolute perfect thing that will become the nightmare of the left to galvanize his support. Again, they're trying to get him, or some statute of limitations has likely run on, things that don't ordinarily result in prosecution, things that are indicative of a witch hunt. And yes. America hates witch hunts. Oh, they hate them. And they're trying to do something that is absolutely hypocritically obscene, and they become guilty of it themselves if they initiate the precedent of going after it. Now, when they go after it, they again need to be careful what they ask for because they might get it. Let me tell you one thing they did. The second time they went after him for stuff he supposedly did for while he was president, after he no longer was president, set a precedent. And that means their little darling, Joe Biden, could be impeached for what he did as vice president, not president. They went after Trump for Mar-a-Lago and the documents he had in the face of several cases the Supreme Court has decided, most recent being United States Department of the Navy versus Egan, spelled Eagan, where if you read the concurring opinions, essentially it says the President of the United States, as Chief Diplomat and Commander-in-Chief of the military under the Constitution, has the authority to declassify any document or classify any document in any fashion he chooses or sees fit to do, or exercise his authority in the process of classification or declassification. That's the president's authority, and it goes to what he had in Malargo. Now, Biden was the vice president when this occurred. He's got declassified documents that he removed to his premises when he was the vice president. Unless Obama has already signed off on something that declassified that stuff, it violated the law. And that means that since they set the president on Trump, they can go after him for impeachable matters when he was the vice president. And under the 12th Amendment, if they go after him in the next 2 years and they get somewhere, he can't serve or run for president again, so the Democratic Party is screwed. And what is that? Well, let's just say this. Recently, I was the judge over a moot trial matter they had on the issue of their probable cause to believe that a crime was committed, or that, as we put it, a crime should be investigated. And we looked at the not one, but the three the alleged crack abuser, Hunter Biden,
Yes.
left for repair, and we swore in and took testimony from the repairman, who seemed to find honest gentlemen who became concerned about American security with the laptops, and he downloaded all of them with Hunter Biden's permission in writing.
Oh, they had it in writing?
Oh, yes. He brought him back in and said, do you want me to download this stuff because your 3 laptops wrecked because of water damage, liquid damage? And he said yes. And the man did some copies, and we looked at them, and there is clear evidence that he was violating American law, and his father, guy, Joe Biden, was violating those same laws too with foreign entities. And Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution, Article 2 dealing with the president, Article 2, Section 4 says president or vice president may be impeached and, if convicted, removed from office for 3 things. 1, bribery. 2, treason. 3, misdemeanors and felonies in office outside of bribery. Now, treason is the only crime defined in the Constitution. But bribery, looks like that's in there from what we heard. Crimes and misdemeanors in office? Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
FARA, F-A-R-A, Foreign Agents Registration Act. Now, the other thing that's interesting is Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution that says the government, quote, shall enforce the law of nations, unquote. That's general. But Article 6 to the Constitution says there are 3 things that the supreme law of the United States, 1 is the Constitution, 2 are laws passed to bring the Constitution into effect and enforce it, and 3, such treaties as have been ratified by the nation. By the Senate. And in 1999, the U.S. Senate ratified a specific treaty with Ukraine that essentially says that the Ukraine and the United States of America agree to apprehend, detain, and extradite criminal elements wanted by the other. So guess what? November 2020, you ordered a long organized crime indictment to be unredacted. That means the marks
that were dark are actually revealed. Yes.
Guess who they got in there? Hunter and Joe Biden for bribery, solicitation of treason, solicitation of perjury, extortion.
Extortion?
Yes. Felony, all sorts of felonies in there and organized crime. So under Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution, if and by not criminal, and by the precedent set by the very foolish Democratic Party in Congress of going after Trump after he was no longer president, they set the precedent for going after Joe Biden for what he did as vice president. And if I've been involved in criminal justice for 50 years. And if I've seen anything that looks like the tickles on is what I was looking at when we went over those 3 laptops. I'm
now
not
this,
talking about,
yes.
I'm talking about.
Now this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The person representing the defense and the person representing the prosecution were both Manhattan District Attorney folk who had been in, I think the minimum was 15 years as a prosecutor, and I think another one was a prosecutor for 19 years. And after their prosecutorial experiences, they had been highly rated defense lawyers. We looked at each other and said, we will probate this stuff out because get some government employees arrested, put on a wall, and shot in some foreign countries.
Oh my goodness. So these unredacted versions of the documents you all witnessed, will they ever be made public or absolutely not?
I think they're going to be made public because the now Republican House has them. And I think
they do?
Favor, yes.
Oh my.
And see, the other thing is, why did nothing get done with this? I mean, there is some crime in there. Well, let's put it this way. Everyone's presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt under the Constitution. And that said, there's probable cause for indictments.
Do you see that coming in the near future, or does it really depend on what narrative may be spun, if a narrative is spun?
Be careful what you ask for. You might get it.
Okay, there's a gem in there. You've said that 5 times, so I've got to absorb what you're trying to say.
They might get it, and as I have also said, sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander without saying it with that proverb, because that's what's happening. If it's, a hate crime for one, it's a hate crime for the other. You push it and you set the precedent, that can swing both ways. It's a two-edged sword.
Absolutely. So if you'd like to segue in to your mayoral campaign bid, and sauce was perfect, that as well.
Oh, yeah. I do sauce and service. And if you want the sauce, go to jjbbbq.com. Judge Joe Brown's Barbecue. That's jjbbbq.com. That sauce. And I'll tell you, we had a little problem. Somebody tried to hack into it and do some wrong to the site. We have haters.
Oh, no. And I love that sauce.
I think we got it corrected today. But
okay.
And it's also on the shelves out west, and it's spreading. And for anybody who's don't get advertised, they're smoked or raw, hot or mild, and the entity that does the packing is run by a sister, and it's the only USDA certified packing plant in California. And if you're in Los Angeles, go by Dee's Original Takeout Grill on 79th at the corner of Western Avenue. That's down in the hood. It's right across, got a corner from a large church, and you can get the product made up. Now, that said, we do service. And I am running for Mayor of Memphis, Tennessee. That's JJB 2023 for Mayor of Memphis, Tennessee. Send Brown downtown and take back the town. And I will speak out. I'm not owned by anybody. I don't need the money. I don't need any extra money. It's all about doing the right thing, and somebody needs to take this town back, because Memphis right now is probably the most corrupt in the United States. And they've got a whole lot of colored folk and Negroes running around perpetrating that they're trying to help out black folk, when actually they're just using them to get in office so they can steal. They've got scheme after scheme where the tax dollars are used to put into an easily accessible pot where the money can be stolen.
Well, I know once you get in, you will definitely change that with the quickness.
Yeah, reform of the police department. We're not going to have it under civilian oversight. It's going to wind up under civilian control, tight civilian control, on a command basis. We're going to deal with involving the citizens and supplementing the police to patrol the communities, to put adulthood back in the hood. We're going to use modern technology to install micro generators down here in the Mississippi River so we get free electric power. That will enable the city buses to be electric, and the fare will drop down to a nickel a ride. And that's just to accumulate stuff to pay salaries and insurance and maintenance. We've got Ford and Cadillac committed to making electric cars within 5 years, within 35-40 minutes of downtown Memphis. And since the world is going to electric or hybrid vehicles very shortly, that will mean Memphis becomes the Detroit for the United States if it's handled properly and not just selfishly for personal gain. We have the opportunity to welcome in international trade that can come directly to Memphis, Tennessee, up the Mississippi River by various means, instead of it being held out so certain people can keep control of the area for maximizing personal profiteering. We can do something about putting character in the streets. And I know that, say, for example, our young police are afraid to go in certain areas. Well, if the mayor is saying, follow me, we're all going down there, they'll have a hard time saying it. If the mayor goes there personally, we can't. No, you're not going to work here longer if you're too afraid to go police where you signed up the police. So we can turn the place around.
Absolutely. So with your campaign right now, does your committee, if not already, will you all be thinking about doing telethons or fundraisers where others in other states who support you can field calls for donations to help support your campaign?
Glad you asked that. If you go to the website, jjb2023.com,
Yes.
various means so you can contribute, so you can set up a mecca where things will be done right and the cities will be what they're supposed to be rather than pestilent hellholes where they are killing zones. Now, jjb2023.com. Go and directly, if you have Cash App, $ Judge Joe Brown 2023, and you can go Cash App contribution, and we have other means of your money so we can put it to use. By the way, to get this thing going, we invite you to immigrate into Memphis, Tennessee. If you're legal, this is not going to be a sanctuary city.
And can you explain that to those, because a lot of people are mentioning that word this week, and for those who may not understand what that means?
You mean legal?
No, sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
Yes, sir.
Certain cities that have gone to hell have invited everybody in, including illegal immigrants who have snuck across the border, to come to their cities, and they will protect them. By the way, why do they want that done? Under the First Amendment, every 10 years, a census is to be conducted, and based on that census, representation in the House of Representatives is to be determined. So they want as many illegals as possible to live in their areas, so they get counted, even though they won't be able to vote. But they'll be counted so that area can pick up extra congressmen who will represent the powers that be that are already there, because the illegals won't be able to vote. Now, places like New York are actually letting illegal immigrants, people who've snuck in, register and vote in local elections.
Truth be told, Maryland has quite a bit, and there's an influx, but it's another story.
See, that doesn't work out, because one of our problems reflected in the schoolhouse, jailhouse pipeline is that there are not enough jobs to go around these days that pay what people think they want to get paid.
Absolutely.
So what do you do about that? Well, think of labor as a commodity like wheat, corn, or cotton. So when you get a commodity glut, there are basically three things you do. One, you cut back production. Two, you subsidize the would-be producer. And three, you store the surplus. The surplus, in this case, is stored in a penitentiary rather than in a grain silo.
Mm-hmm.
The subsidy is the assistance check that becomes chronic and generational.
And systemic cycles.
Yes, and the cutting back of production is the youth getting stuck on stupid, listening to stuff that causes them to ideate that being a pimp, a hoe, drug dealer, thief, murderer, or somebody that's got some special niche can get a lot of cash on doing what is perceived to be a little work. Well, it doesn't work that way. And they bang out, drop out, drug out, develop inappropriate ideas, outlooks, worldviews, all sorts of dysfunction that keeps them from being unemployed. Well, keeps them from being employable.
And marketable. And marketable as well. Well, I guess maybe hands in hand.
But you see, we need that the way the system's set up now, because it distracts good people from what's being done to them economically, and they pay attention to getting ripped off walking from the front door to the carport, which is distracting. It also causes the impact communities to be centers of chaos, so they cannot engage in collective self-help through cohesive politics. And it's good for everybody's business because there's $1 trillion high-growth industry on feeding, clothing, sheltering, transporting, communicating with, or providing communications to and supervision of inmates. They don't want that labor except to keep them out of mischief and for certain things that are no longer viable in the economy anyway, because we have increased industrial technology and computerization that has made a whole lot of people obsolete. So we've got to turn this around and restore functionality to ordinary people.
Absolutely. Well, Honorable Judge Joe Brown, it has been a pleasure. This actually was a good podcast, as a matter of fact. The actual videos are good because of the audience interaction, but a lot of information was shared, given, things I didn't know. I thought I had a pretty good grasp. Did I do okay? Or was I off a little bit?
You did okay.
Okay, well, I'm happy with that. But I thank you, and you and I will catch up later when you have time. I know you have other commitments, but thank you for taking this time out this afternoon, this chilly afternoon, to speak about what we may see as, I don't want to say history, but something that could be historic tomorrow. We shall see.
Yeah, if you see him arrested, that probably is one of the worst things they could have possibly done for their political prospects. When I say they, I mean the far left.
Absolutely.
They're brewing backlash that is building, and people are beginning to see the pieces of the puzzle, as we talked about earlier, because more and more of those little bitty pieces are getting put together.
Yes, they are.
The puzzle is showing, and people don't like it because we are still human beings, and there's certain characteristics that all humans on the planet have. And when somebody starts trying to get rid of those traditional human things, it doesn't work. And people will, what shall we say, resist?
Yes, that is the perfect word. I got a little nervous, but yes, absolutely. Resist. And that is what my concern may be.
Somebody might say that's inflammatory, or the left always says, they will fight. We need to fight. We must fight back. We must take our fight too. See, that's all hyperbole, puffing, woofing. It's not illegal, but don't let them get a hard on about the whole thing, you know?
Absolutely. Well, Honorable Judge Joe Brown, thank you so much. Say goodbye to the listening audience when they hear this.
Okay, hi, bye, got to go. This has been Judge Joe. When you can, since I'm the one that ran. JJB in 2023 for Mayor of Memphis, Tennessee. Send Brown downtown to take back the town.
Thank you so much, sir, and we will speak again soon.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, take care now, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Honorable Judge Joe Brown on a series of topics, mostly the pending, perhaps, arrest of President Donald J. Trump. We also spoke on the First Amendment and changes that could show in what may be a series of events. We spoke of STEM, getting our kids into science, technology, things of that nature. As he said, growing your own foods are good, but we need scientists, we need educators, we need those that can help in medical situations. We need transportation. We need innovations. So he dropped many, many gems, as he always does. So this was a first, if you will, of a audio podcast. I hope you all enjoy, and any questions or comments you may have, please be sure to leave in the comment section, because I do plan to have him on live when time permits. It is a very busy season. As you know, he is running for the mayor of Memphis, Tennessee, and there are other issues in his hometown of Memphis that he is working on, plus the many, many people who he is donning the platforms as well. So again, he's been such a blessing to me personally and to my audience. Those that are listening in, thank you so very much. Please like, share this video for the masses. Until next time, be safe, be well, and you know the rest. Be healthier.